the last world standing. They had burned 1,000 worlds before they reached us. The Vrax Dominion, a relentless machine of conquest spanning 3/4 of the galaxy, had swept through civilizations older and wiser than ours. Their ships darkened skies, their synthetic soldiers wiped out resistance with clinical efficiency, and their propaganda turned proud species into obedient subjects. One by one, the free worlds fell, until only Earth remained. No one expected us to last. Not the Vrax, not even many among our own. We were the outlier, isolated on a backwater spiral arm, technologically behind the interstellar curve, divided by languages, politics, and history. By all metrics, we should have been easy. But Earth was no ordinary planet. The declaration came in the Vrax Emperor's voice, translated, broadcast, and echoing across every screen, every satellite feed, every device on our planet. Earth is the final target. Resistance is irrational. Surrender will preserve your species. Deny us, and Earth shall become the final battlefield. They thought it would frighten us. Instead, it united us. Within days, the United Earth Defense Accord was signed. No more countries, no more borders, just one planet, one name, humanity. Factories retooled. Satellites were weaponized. Hackers, engineers, farmers, and even gang leaders were drafted into the effort. The global economy was tossed aside, replaced with a single goal: survival. As their first scout fleet entered orbit, strange things began to happen. The alien AI systems malfunctioned. Drones went rogue. Their maps, supposedly foolproof, were scrambled. Every landing zone was met not with confusion but with calculated ambushes. Dense forests devoured their machines. Blizzards shut down their exosuits. The oceans claimed entire landing craft. And always, the humans were there, waiting, fighting, learning. They had never faced a death world before. Their soldiers reported it in garbled transmissions. The atmosphere could kill, the wildlife attacked in coordinated packs, and the terrain itself seemed alive with malice. Worst of all were the humans, small, soft, carbon-based bipeds who didn't know when to quit. A Vrax officer's log was leaked to our networks after a comms hack. It read like a confession. They are unpredictable, illogical. They fight with fire, sound, and metal scraps. Children throw bombs. Elders shoot from windows. Their cities burn, and still they sing. We do not understand them. And that terrifies me. It was the first crack in their confidence. The first wave vanished. No survivors. No beacons. No explanation. Our skies were briefly silent. Then came the second wave, larger, angrier, equipped with heavier weapons and scorched earth protocols. But by then, we were ready. They thought Earth was the final target. They didn't know they were standing on the galaxy's most dangerous battlefield. And they had just declared war on the one species that never knew how to lose. First contact, final war. The second wave hit hard. Vrax troop carriers punched through the atmosphere like falling stars, seeding Earth with fire and steel. They landed across every continent, in shattered cities, remote mountain passes, and what they assumed were undefended plains. What they didn't understand was that nowhere on Earth was safe for them. In the Sahara, sandstorms blinded their optics and scoured armor plating. In the Arctic, temperatures plunged so rapidly that Vrax biosuits cracked and failed within hours. In the Amazon, their patrols vanished into foliage so dense it muffled even their emergency beacons. And in urban ruins, they encountered the worst threat of all, us. The humans they faced weren't uniformed soldiers in neat formations. They were insurgents, hackers, hunters, and engineers with nothing left to lose and no intention of surrendering. They fought with homemade railguns, scavenged Vrax rifles, and even medieval weapons when it came to it. In the alleys of Mumbai, human children used drones rigged with explosives to disable Vrax tanks. In the hills of Appalachia, old veterans rigged IEDs from engine parts and fertilizer. Every civilian was a threat. Every building, a trap. The Vrax responded as they always did, with overwhelming force. They razed entire neighborhoods. They melted forests with plasma barrages. But still, the humans came. bleeding, screaming, laughing. One Vrax commander, General Karun, led an assault on the remnants of Balin. His battalion, armored and equipped with thermal tracking, advanced through what seemed to be an abandoned sector. Instead, they triggered a trap laid by urban fighters. Steel cables pulled taut between buildings, leading to a suspended freight container packed with scrap metal and explosives. When it dropped, the explosion ripped through the Vrax line, turning cutting-edge war machines into twisted slag. Humanity didn't fight fair. We didn't fight clean. We fought to win. As weeks turned into months, the Dominion's forces began to fray. Morale dipped. Their AI support systems were routinely hacked or jammed. Vrax soldiers were found dead not in battle, but by exposure, drowned in rivers, bitten by venomous creatures, or killed by fungal infections their immune systems had never encountered. Earth wasn't just hostile, it was predatory. The turning point came when a Vraxcom relay was seized during a skirmish in South America. Human cryptologists cracked it within days and began broadcasting footage of alien defeats, not just across Earth, but to the Dominion's colonies across the galaxy. For the first time in living memory, the Vrax weren't feared. They were mocked. Their empire was beginning to sense it. Earth wasn't dying. It was awakening. And for every alien soldier that stepped on our soil, 1,000 humans stood ready to make sure they'd never leave it. They thought the war would be swift. But the final battlefield had only just begun to take shape. Humanity breaks the Empire. The Vrax Dominion had never known defeat until Earth. Their war councils, once symbols of absolute control, dissolved into chaos. Commanders bickered over losses. Supplies dwindled. Reinforcements were delayed or ambushed before reaching the surface. The Vrax had always believed brute force and fear could crush resistance. But fear didn't work on humans. If anything, it fueled us. By now, Earth's resistance wasn't just fighting, it was winning. In the skies, we launched Project Scorched Sky. Humanity had no fleet, not in the traditional sense. What we had was creativity and millions of tons of orbital debris. Engineers and physicists turned defunct satellites, dead space probes, and even lunar mining rigs into kinetic weapons. With precise calculations and a handful of hijacked Vrax nav beacons, we turned Earth's orbit into a death trap. A Vrax dreadnought, the Carrax Eternal, attempted atmospheric descent over the Pacific. We dropped 100 tons of steel and rock on it from orbit. The impact lit the sky like a second sun. The explosion was visible from space. On the ground, coordinated strikes became standard. Human units in Africa used swarms of solar-powered drones to distract Vrax patrols, while hidden artillery zeroed in. In North America, militias buried deep in mountain bunkers ran sabotage campaigns, cutting off enemy supply chains. Vrax logistics collapsed. Troops went hungry. Batteries died. Communications were filled with static or false signals, often leading them into ambushes. And then came the moment we never expected, a defection. Admiral Threx, commander of the Vrax 7th Fleet, surrendered his flagship to the United Earth Defense Accord. His reason was simple. You cannot defeat something that thrives on death. He brought with him something better than weapons, intelligence. We learned that the Vrax were preparing Extermination Protocol Theta, a full orbital cleansing of Earth. No more occupation, just fire from the sky. But we were ready. A dozen resistance cells coordinated across the globe, launching simultaneous infiltrations of Vrax orbital platforms. It wasn't just military. Hackers, cosmonauts, even retired astrophysicists joined the operation. Using the same ingenuity that had powered our rise from cave fires to moon landings, we cracked their systems. We turned their own orbital bombardment fleet against itself. Vrax ships opened fire, not on Earth, but on each other. Motherships were gutted by friendly fire. Command relays were jammed with false override codes. Entire wings of Dominion ships turned to slag before the order to abort was even processed. For the first time, the galaxy saw Vrax vessels burning in Earth's sky. Not from resistance, from revolution. Earth's defiance was no longer a local problem. It had become a symbol. Across the stars, other species, once beaten into silence, watched in awe. For the first time in centuries, they saw the Vrax bleed. and they saw who made them bleed. Humanity had been the final target. Now, we were the first to break the chain. The battlefield becomes a tomb. They came to burn us from the sky. With orbital control slipping and ground forces collapsing, the Vrax Dominion enacted their final command, Purge Protocol Theta. The order was absolute: glass the planet, erase all life, and leave Earth a smoking relic. If they couldn't conquer us, they would make sure no one else could rise from our ashes. Their fleet aligned in high orbit, rows of warships bristling with plasma lances and fusion warheads. The order was given. Time is ticked. Coordinates locked. And then, nothing fired. One by one, the weapon systems failed. The hijack codes we had implanted weeks earlier now activated. Earth's hackers, some of them teenagers working out of bunkers, others former data analysts turned warriors, had embedded commands in the Vrax's orbital firmware. When the Purge command went live, so did our virus. Half the Dominion fleet lost targeting capabilities. The other half turned on itself. From Earth's surface, the sky lit up with silent flashes as starships exploded into debris, tumbling into the atmosphere like metal comets. A cascade of fire trailed behind each doomed vessel. The largest, the Vrax Ascendant, broke apart directly above Europe, scattering burning wreckage across hundreds of miles. But it was their command ship, the Imperium Fang, that fell last. Hijacked by Earth's finest and aided by defected Admiral Threx, a joint crew of humans and turncoat Vrax pilots drove it straight into the heart of the fleet. The collision shattered the formation. It also sent a message. Earth wasn't fighting for survival anymore. We were fighting for victory. Below, the last Vrax ground divisions, stranded and cut off, began to fall apart. Their commanders tried to regroup in Paris, what remained of it, turning its crumbled streets into a final fortress. They didn't expect every human left in Europe to converge on the ruins. It wasn't just soldiers. It was medics, farmers, mechanics, and students. People carrying hunting rifles, Molotov cocktails, and vengeance. It was a march, not a deployment. A people's army. They breached the Vrax stronghold at dawn. By dusk, it was over. The last Dominion general on Earth was captured. The surrender was streamed live. In a final act of poetic justice, it was broadcast over the Dominion's own comm network, now under human control. Billions across the galaxy watched as humanity, the primitive Deathwalders, brought the Vrax Empire to its knees. The battlefield fell silent. What remained of Earth was scorched, battered, broken. But we had done what no world had managed in centuries. We didn't just survive. We won. And in the ruins of our cities, in the ashes of our victory, a new flame began to rise. Not just of rebuilding, but of reaching beyond. Because now, the galaxy knew the truth. Earth was never just a target. It was the tomb of an empire. And humanity was coming.